Good morning everyone. In software architecture class, today we are going to learn about this product line scope. In the previous classes, we learnt about what is a product line, right? The product line is nothing but it is a software which is going to specify or meet the market requirements or the market needs. For example, if you're going to build a particular software which is called as payroll processing system, it has to meet all the kinds of employees informations, not only with the government employees, for the private employees also it should have the provision to use, right? So that is called as product line. Then only it can reach everyone. Okay, for example, if you take a simple product like simple product which you could have get many products in online. If there is a specific condition that it can be used only by this kind of people, like that, if it is mentioned, it will not reach all the people, right? That is, it will not reach the market. The same way, the software which we are going to build should have some kinds of requirements. These requirements has to meet all the market needs. That is called as the product line. So here we are going to learn about what is product line scope. Scope is telling about the objectives and how long it is going to be used. Okay, that is only scope. A simple product, if you take, it will be with some limited. Some products are in scope. Some products could have been in out of scope. For example, if you take payroll processing system, what is the scope of the payroll processing system? It has to calculate the pay of each and every employee. That is only scope. If it is not doing that, it is beyond the scope. Okay, for example, the speckled line, no, some of the products will be out of the scope. Okay, some of the products need to be decided on a case, that is case basis. For particular employees only it can be applicable, that is lined. Okay, so like that. So this is called as the scope. Did you understand what I'm saying? So you have got the information, that is what is product line, and here we are learning about what is a product line scope. Clear? Okay. What is the scope in a critical decision? Which is nothing but, if it is a very big system, okay, it is very difficult to design and construct, it will be having a broad scope, right? So how it can be designed? So to narrow a scope, there is few systems justify additional expense and complexity. So if it is having a broad scope, it is very difficult, right? If it is having only limited scope, it is very easy to design, right? So it has to have some kind of additional expense and complexity alone. So this scoping decisions made by, how these decisions can be made, that is only finding commonality and variation points among the potential products. So if you are going to take a payroll processing system, there should be some commonality, that is, it should calculate the pay for all the employees. Okay, so what is the commonality? And interactions between marketing and the other architect to define broad as a scope, technically feasible without introducing the excessive cost when building the products. So if it is going to meet the market needs, it needs to define more, and it has to have lot of technical things, means the cost could have been increased. So the cost should also not increase, and it should introduce the excessive cost of the building products. According to that, it has to be designed. Okay, that is only scope in a critical decision. Variability general scenario. So what is this variability general scenario? Generally, if you are going to take up a particular software, it should have all these kinds of things that we have studied in the second unit itself, right? What is the source, what is the stimulus, what is the artifacts, and what are all the environment where it has to meet, and the response and the response measure. All these things we studied in the second unit itself when we are studying the architecture requirements. Okay, according to that, here the source will be actor requesting the variability, that is will be the source, and stimulus, it should have the variations in hardware, feature sets, technologies, user interfaces, like that. Artifacts is telling about the requirements, architecture, component, test suite, and the project plan. Environment, either it could variant could have been created at runtime or build time or development time itself. Response should be the requested variants can be created. Response measure is telling about how it can specify the cost or the time to create the core assets and create the variations using this core assets, right? Architectural mechanisms for variability. Variability we have studied over here. What kind of variability you can give? Okay, that is only variability scenario. And this mechanisms, architectural mechanisms or for variability, which is nothing about inclusion or omission of the elements. So using the build procedure of different products, you can include different number of elements. For instance, you can have the high capacity variants may be produced by adding more servers. Okay, you could have add more servers, through that you can give high capacity, and the actual number should be unspecified as a point of the variation. This may be chosen dynamically. You cannot decide that I am going to use only this much number of servers. Okay, that cannot be defined. Okay, that is only unspecified. So according to the process, dynamic process, it could have been added more, right? And selection of different version of elements that have the same interface but different behavioral or quality attribute characteristics. So it should have different characteristics, and the selection can occur at compile time, build time or runtime. The mechanisms include the static libraries and the external functions and the compilation time, and it could have get dynamic link libraries also, and it can have add-ons. It can add-ons nothing but it can have any extension, or if you want to add any module you can add it, right? What are the other variability mechanisms? First one is the extension point. Extension point is telling about additional functionality. How can you add the additional functionality? By adding a particular module. Reflection. It is telling about the ability of the program to manipulate data on itself and the execution environment or state. Reflection programs can adjust their behavior based on their context. Next, overloading. This is a means of reusing named functionality to operate on different types. Overloading promotes the code reuse but in cost of understandability and code complexity. Okay, so the other variability mechanisms could have been inheritance, specialization, generalization of a particular class, component substitutions, add-ons, plugins, templates, parameters, generators, aspects, runtime conditionals, configurations. All these things will come under the other variability mechanisms. So each mechanism will have a cost, right? So what is the cost of this each mechanism? What kind of person is needed to implement that particular mechanism? That is only skill set. And on time cost for establishing a mechanism. To implement that skill, we need a person, right? So what kind of person we need to recruit, right? Next, recurring cost of each instance. So for example, it could have been added more or something. So what will be the cost of it? Where this impact will be will be implemented. Performance and the modifiability. Okay, so this is about each mechanism will be having a cost. Next one is evaluating a product line architecture. If it is a very large one, it is same as the normal evaluation. If it is going to have some special attention, some of the points need to have some special attention, it can be applied to core assets to assess suitability of a product line, instance architecture, and to assess the suitability for a particular desired product. Okay. Next one is the key product line issues. So here we need to have the adoption strategies. First, it can be top down or a bottom up strategy, and it should have proactive adoption versus reactive adoption. Proactive is nothing but how it is going to react once it is handed over to the user. Reactive is nothing but, so if it is going to be the kind of input, what will be the output? That is only reactive adoption. And you can have incremental versus big bang approach. We have studied in software engineering various approaches, right? So if you are going to add any new model, it could become under the incremental approach. Big bang approach is also coming under the same category. Next one is the organization structure. So dedicated groups for core sets could have been there, and the core asset group composed of various product members paying for core asset development. So today what we learned, product line strategic plan, reuse, this we learned in the previous class itself. Today we learned about the approach for developing a software and how it is going to have the different kinds of works and what it needs to understand organization issues, process issues and the architecture. Okay, so with this chapter is get over. So the next topic we will study in the next class. Thank you.